Hello. Welcome to the Code of Honor podcast. I am your host, Kylie. I'm joined today by my wonderful co-host, Kyle, and our very special guest, former Ring of Honor owner, current Ring of Honor ambassador, Cary Silkin. Cary, how are you doing?
I'm very well. Thanks for having me on. I hope I am still the current Ring of Honor ambassador. Say that 3 times fast. I think I might be. So that's cool. How you guys doing?
I'm doing great. I'm so excited to have you here. I just wanted to start by congratulating you. You're the first recipient of the Ring of Honor Hall of Fame Legacy Award. You're joining an incredible inaugural Ring of Honor Hall of Fame class. Yeah. So how are you feeling about that? How did this come to be? What's it like being in the Hall of Fame?
Well, I had a feeling something was up when 3 weeks ago, Delirious, our behind the scenes guy, asked me to come to Baltimore, which is like a 3-hour ride for me, because they were doing the final, Hall of Fame episode. So it was like a wrap up. So he wanted to, he was saying, "Oh, Cary, we want you there with Ian, put in some thoughts about," because you were there with the Briscoes and Samoa Joe and CM Punk and Brian. So knowing that I'm not the most savvy promo or announcing guy, I had a feeling that maybe they're going to have an award for me, but I sort of forgot about it. Well, I don't know if you saw the show where it was presented. It's last week's show.
Yeah.
I just watched it today, and it was fun. And like when we were doing these little takes, Briscoes first, Punk, Then at the end, and I sort of forgot about it. That like, this is cool. It's the wrestlers. I'm, whatever. But when they did the surprise award, it was very emotional. It was very sweet, and it was just very nice. And I'm happy to be part of that inaugural Hall of Fame group.
Yeah, it's definitely an incredible Hall of Fame class. It's such a big honor. So again, congratulations.
Thank you.
I'm going to kick it to Kyle because I know he's burning up with questions. He has so much he wants to ask.
Hey, it's I kind of play the role of the historian of Ring of Honor in this
How old are you,
arrangement.
Brother?
I'll be 40 in July.
You look great.
Well, thank you. Appreciate it. My kids are trying their hardest to age me as fast as they can, but
Good thing you didn't. Good thing you weren't my parents. Because I talk about torturing them. If you listen to my podcast, Last Stop Penn Stations, you'll hear some stories that I'm certainly not proud of. But anyway, you're doing much better at 40 than I was. Continue.
Well, appreciate it. Thank you. First off, you've carried, you were at ROH through some periods of spectacular growth, taking over the reins in 2004, running the company through growth, expansion, multiple different TV deals, pay-per-view deals. Can you walk us through a little bit about how you came to be the guy in 2004? There was the unpleasantness that we don't want to talk about, of course. Right. And if memory serves correctly, Doug Gentry purchased, and then you came in as well. So can you talk a little bit about how that came to be?
Well, I knew those guys from going to ECW. And I'm sure you both know the feeling of wanting to go to wrestling, but not having anyone who'll go with you.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
So I used to go to ECW. I would get some people to go with me, but sometimes I couldn't find anyone. So I would go back where, Gabe at the time was selling programs on the street. He worked for Paul Heyman. And Doug and the other guy, had their little tape stand. And I was friends with Doug. I became tight with Doug. And he's God rest his soul, And so when Ring of Honor started in 2002, I approached them about, I had previously been in the wrestling business as the editor of Lucha Libre de Puerto Rico.
Oh, wow. Oh,
We attempted to do a wrestling magazine. We did 4 issues. The hell can I do this?
That's so cool.
oh, wow.
4 issues, and that was like in '99. I used to like to go to Puerto Rico for vacation, and my cousin Mike G, who is an esteemed rock and roll, he writes music, everything from metal to country, you name it, jazz. He's very well versed, and he was also the editor of Wrestling World magazine. I will get to your question, don't worry. So we were in Puerto Rico, and I said, dude, they have a really cool wrestling scene here. And he knew a little about it, but I knew, they had the IWA and the old WWC, which was Carlos Colon.
Right.
And so I said, we should do a magazine. He goes, what are you talking about? He goes, I'm an editor. I mean, you're talking about translation, you're talking about distribution, and this is pre-internet. So I said, the company he worked for, Sterling McFadden, had like 40 titles. Some of them still exist, believe it or not, but like they had 16 magazine, and they had a country this and Metal Edge and Metal Maniacs. They also had Wrestling World, and the editor of Wrestling World quit. So Mike, being an older, he's the first guy to turn me on to wrestling. He's like 5 years older than me. Anyway, when I posed the question, he had every reason why we can't do it. And I said, well, did they sell your magazines in Puerto Rico? Yeah. Well, so we approached the distributor. He knew guys, layout artists, and we needed a translator. And that got me in the wrestling business, sort of. But it did. And I still have some deep friendships from that era, like Bushwhacker Luke Williams. I love him. He's like, talk to him like every day. Anyway, I also approached those guys because I knew they were going to start something when ECW died. And they didn't need my help until about 8 months later. And of course, they came to me for financial help. So I was happy to get involved and be like a silent partner. I was doing my ticket agency business. All these stories are available at length on Last Stop Penn Station podcast. But, after that situation happened, I was either going to just go, there were 3 choices. Either you go away and give me back my money, or I'll just buy the whole thing, or 3, I'll sue you. So he took A. Or no, he took B. We did a deal, and off he went, and the rest is history. And it was a really rough patch of time because of all the scandalous stuff, but we survived it. Thanks to guys like CM Punk and Samoa Joe having that trilogy.
Absolutely.
Thanks to Low Key and Bryan Danielson and Nigel McGuinness coming in, and all those names. There's a laundry list, but we went from there. And but the one thing Ring of Honor didn't have, except they had great wrestling. And if you watch the old videos, although the cameras, I should have got better cameras. That was a stupid move, but I brought in production. I don't want to say rudimentary, but it was like, 4 lighting poles, a lighting company with, ring lights, 4 sides, some entrance lights. And Gabe said to me, Gabe Sapolsky, and he's a rock and roll guy. He says, Cary, we don't need that. We're only an indie. I said, Gabe, what happens? He really loved Slayer, and he loved Rush. He had a good. I said, what happens when the lights go out at a concert or even a movie? He's like, well, the people pop. I go, well, same thing. And we started, and that, I don't know, Kyle, when the first show you went to was. When was it?
Oh gosh, I want to say about 2005.
Fine.
It was in Dayton.
What city?
It was in Dayton. It was the it was Final Showdown. It was Danielson and Homicide in the cage match to blow off their best of 5.
Well, even in Dayton, if you remember, we had more curtain. We curtained everything off to make it like you're supposed to do it. And I couldn't do it on the level of, a big company, but we tried our best. And that's a big part of what made Ring of Honor, besides the great wrestlers, that production and the crowd popping. And as the months went on, we got help from a couple lighting guys, this guy Ethan Gilson from Massachusetts, and this other company that was out in Dayton. And we added moving lights and this and that, and it was pretty cool. So I ate up a lot of time on that question, but we went from there. And, then we got approached by Pro Wrestling Noah. I'm like, what? And they came to us because they wanted to have a presence in the U.S.
Yep.
We were like, but it was expensive. You're talking about work visas and, they didn't come cheap. So we worked out an amicable deal. So we had that connection. We're bringing in Kenta. We're bringing in Marufuji. We're bringing in Morishima. And let's not forget the famous Samoa Joe Kabashi match in New York City.
And Misawa as well.
And Misawa as well. Thank you. Greatest match of all time for me. I'm even going back to my, going to the Garden as a kid, seeing Bruno against whomever, Billy Graham, or these good matches. But so it was little steps, and but here's the problem. I was always losing money.
Sure.
As my dad used to say, he was gone at this point, but he'd say, oh, you're pissing money away, right? I was always losing money. So why would, like if how old are your kids?
10 and 6.
Fine. The 10-year-old would say, with rudimentary mathematics, why are you doing this, Cary? You're losing money. And the DVD business was good at the time, but it just didn't cover it. So why did I keep doing it? Number one was ego. I didn't want to let go. I loved the business. My passion for it was really strong. And last but not least, I knew we had something good. I knew it. But that whole period of my ownership was a money pit. And thanks to Jim Cornette and Gary Juster, who knew Joe Koff, we were able to keep it alive and get the deal done with Sinclair. And here we are, guys, in 2022. And now with this AEW thing going on, and I don't ask me any questions because there's no answer. No one knows nothing yet. No one's been contacted. So, but I'll say this, and I give Joe Koff a lot of credit. He gets heat. But do you know how hard it is, even as a corporation, to work under a corporation and keeping this thing alive? Like at any moment, the corporation could say, even though they're worth billions, they don't look at it like that. They're bean counters. And so Joe kept it alive through the pandemic, paid everybody, blah, blah, blah. We got to do Madison Square Garden, the dream of my life. There's a guy who saw Freddie Blassie against Pedro Morales at the Garden when I was 14, because they had a law. You know what a blue law is, Kylie?
I don't.
The blue law is something like, you can't buy liquor on Sundays in certain towns or states. So the New York State Athletic Commission had blue laws for wrestling. One of them was no lady wrestlers. One of them was no gimmick matches, no cage or chain matches. And one of them was you had to be 14 years old to go to Penn Boxing and Wrestling at the Garden.
Wow.
They didn't enforce it everywhere in the state. But my dad, being the good man that he was, and he still is, he got his tickets for that Blassie Morales match. And I love Freddie Blassie, right? And the crowd was 95% Hispanic. And when Blassie came out, I'm standing up. My father grabs me literally by the pants. Sit down, you're going to get killed here. Right. But anyway, so there I am at that. Then if you listen to my podcast, you'll hear the stories about me hustling tickets on the streets of New York. We're talking about in the 80s. I know to you guys, this is like ancient history. It's like when the dinosaurs roamed. But I love this stuff. Into the ticket business as a scalper. You know, there was no internet. There was no nothing. People used to come, whether it was a Metallica concert or a Rangers hockey game or a big Yankee game. People would come without tickets, looking to buy tickets, even if they knew it was sold out. So that led me to getting involved, get off the streets finally, getting involved with some ticket agencies. And the comment's wrong. Blassie challenged in 71. Anyway.
Take that, Jameis.
All right. But yeah, so I got on the other side of the ticket business, and eventually in 98, I opened up my own agency, which still sort of exists a little because the pandemic just killed everything. And so there I am in 2019, walking out at Madison Square Garden and getting in the ring to give Taven and Kelly Klein the respective belts. And I mean, the odds of this happening. Yeah. It's like, you know, when they have those Powerball, the Powerball tonight is worth $90 million, right? Mm-hmm. That was like the odds for me to achieve that, because I did not. I'm going to get you guys listening to these podcasts, because I did not live the healthiest lifestyle, and I'm not proud of it. But this mixed for some good stories. I mean, how many people you know that did cocaine with John Belushi and Rush? So
you'd be it.
So, but it was the way it was, and I cleaned up my act, and the ticket business funded Ring of Honor all along, because we had some really good years during the Ring of Honor time.
Oh yeah.
But I was just, once again, pissing it away. So I don't know if I answered your question or not.
No, I did. And one of the things that really separated Ring of Honor during that time was, and something that I know Kiley wanted to ask about, was the creation and the lasting of the Pure division.
Right. I give credit where it's due. That was all Gabe. Gabe Sapolsky, you know. He had a very good eye for talent. He had very good ideas. And I fancied myself as a producer. Like when you see a big movie, produced by Martin Scorsese or something, right? What does he do? You know, or whoever's the producer, they're gathering the best people for the jobs, whether it's lighting, whether it's camera work, whether it's the casting, blah, blah, blah. So that's, you know, I sort of stayed back as, you know, I would throw in my 2 cents on ideas, but I didn't really, I let it go. And then Adam Pearce came along after Gabe, and then Delirious. And once again, here we are.
Yeah, it's sort of the success of Ring of Honor over this entire time, ups and downs, but it's just been so stable, so consistent. And I know I'm glad for it. And I know Kyle's glad for it.
Absolutely.
Me too.
Yeah, of course. So you mentioned you don't know anything about the AW deal, so I'm not going to ask about it. But I am curious about the Ring of Honor tape library, because, of course, a lot of the guys who wrestled in Ring of Honor, especially in the early years, have become the biggest stars in wrestling. We're talking CM Punk and Bryan Danielson and all these guys. And we've seen some of this footage emerge in video packages, and a lot of fans have sort of grabbed on to CM Punk videos, especially for the feud with MJF. I'm just curious how you would like to see the tape library used and presented, and what do you think wrestling and wrestling fans can learn from the grungy, sort of dirty early days of Ring of Honor?
I've had this discussion with a lot of people, and it's not. This goes along the lines of your question. Mm-hmm. Like, if a great baseball player, a current day, I'm a New York guy, so Aaron Judge, right? You know who that is, Kyle?
Oh yeah.
So is it important that Aaron Judge knows about his predecessors, whether it's Derek Jeter, whether it's Don Mattingly, whether it's, the great Yankees of the 70s with Thurman Munson and Greg Nettles, and of course Mickey Mantle and Joe DiMaggio? I think it is. Same with wrestling. I think if you're a young wrestler, it's very important to know what came before you, right? Because what's that old expression? If you don't know history, you're doomed to make the same mistake, something like that.
Yep.
When I talked to Kevin Sullivan, here's another guy who I talked almost every day. All the old guys like to talk on the phone as opposed to this shallow text messaging. So Kevin's a big historian too, not just with wrestling, but with world history and baseball, this and that. But to your point, Kylie, I think Tony Khan's going to do the right thing. At least, see, when I sold the company, I knew that was the only thing of value. But unfortunately, only Punk and Bryan and Samoa Joe had attained, they attained success, but it wasn't like it is now. I mean, that library is very robust.
Oh yeah,
and rich with the wrestling history, obviously. So I think it's in the right hands, and that's not to take anything away from Joe Koff.
No, and I think people are starting to sort of realize how important Ring of Honor has been. And, CM Punk and Danielson and all these guys, they've been able to talk about it. And I'm really excited for fans to get on the Ring of Honor bandwagon with me. I've been waiting so long for that. But I'm going to kick it back to Kyle because he looks like he wants to jump in.
Oh, it's just where do you want to go with it? I mean, I want to talk a little bit about a couple of things that happened right around 2008 to 2010, around that neighborhood. The HDNet deal, and the work with the Darren Aronofsky movie, The Wrestler, and sort of how both of those things I know you've talked about in the past.
We thought this is going to be the greatest thing of all time. We thought, oh my God, we're going to be on television. And little did I know, dunce, give me a dunce cap. Dunce, imagine that in school, even if it was before my time, if you were like, this is what they do, you said something stupid, for lack of it, they'd put you in the corner with a dunce cap.
You'll sit in the corner.
They should have given me a dunce cap, because I thought with the HDNet thing, and God bless Mark Cuban and Andrew Simon. I never met Mark Cuban, but for giving us this platform. Unfortunately, it was only on about 4% of the households nationwide. Mm-hmm. They were on the Dish Network. They were on a couple of cable affiliates. I thought the first time that show aired, we're going to see T-shirt sales and merch and DVD sales, go hog wild. It didn't happen. Mm-hmm. But I'm still grateful for those guys. They gave us a platform. As far as the Wrestler movie, that was nuts. we got approached by Darren Aronofsky's people, and they wanted the climactic scene to be like WWE didn't want to deal with them. Impact or TNA didn't want to deal with them. So they went to little old Ring of Honor. And you know the story about Nicolas Cage, right?
Yeah, I had heard you tell that story before.
They wanted him to be the Mickey Rourke role.
Mm-hmm.
And they brought him to the Hammerstein or the Manhattan Center, one of the two. And apparently in the end, he wanted more money than the whole budget of the movie. So I think Mickey Rourke was a much better fit. And then it gets nominated for Best Movie, right?
Yeah.
And then Bruce Springsteen throws that closing song in. I'm like, this is amazing, right? And when the movie came out, and they let us, for that final scene, they let us have the place draped with ROH banners. They didn't care. You know, the ROH logo in the ring, banners. I'm like, imagine if this movie wins the Oscar, right? I think Mickey Rourke might have been nominated too. Or maybe it wasn't nominated Best Movie, but it was nominated something.
Somebody was. I want to say maybe it was Marissa Tomei.
Nah, boy, she was miserable.
Somebody story. Was. I remember what you said.
Wanted to get in and out. But anyway, we thought this was going to really, click the gate, and it didn't. It just didn't. But it was fun doing it, though.
Oh, sure. And I was one of the households that did get HDNet. There was there's some great wrestling in that period. You did too, Kylie. There you go.
Yeah, that's how I found Ring of Honor. I had Dish Network, and I was just scrolling through channels, trying to.
Channel 8,922. Oh, it is working. Wow. I mean, Marissa Tomei was barely in the movie. A couple of scenes.
Yeah, she didn't do a lot. But
he was a cool guy. What a piece of work he was.
But no, I was. But at the same time, I was already buying DVDs and heading to shows, so it wasn't exactly adding a customer in my case there. I was just happy to see ROH on TV. Well,
I wish there was more of you guys because there just wasn't enough households. But sure. It was nice because they subsidized it and or pitched in at least.
Oh, definitely.
So it was a great experience, and at least they gave us an opportunity.
Absolutely. And that was another case where with HDNet and also with the move to Sinclair that and I know it's something that you've mentioned in the past, that ROH was never really able to get onto live TV. I know that's something you've sort of bemoaned in the past.
Right. Listen, if you're not on cable, even with the TiVoing and, being able to record, if you're not on cable, it's good. And YouTube wasn't really as big of a thing back then.
No.
Maybe if we would use, I don't know, what year did YouTube start? You guys would know.
2005.
Yeah, I was going to say 05 sounds right.
Well, maybe if we used our heads, we would have realized that this is a good platform to present the show. But it wasn't being done back then correct me if I'm wrong, but it wasn't as predominant in 2008, 9, 10.
Sure.
But if sure, it should have, would have, could have. We should have utilized it.
Yeah, and as I recall, around that time, most people were, because I was in college, just graduating from college at that point. Most people were still using YouTube for very short form stuff at that point. It wasn't really a platform to house like full length shows or anything like that.
Yeah. We missed the boat, but what are you going to do? Right? You can't.
It happens.
We tried our best. Look, during my time there, we got to go to the UK twice. You mentioned Dayton. The first time we went to Dayton and Chicago, it was like we're going to fly into the moon. It's like, ooh, we're going to the Midwest. And Ring of Honor had post 2005, we had a great reputation. This was the place to be. And this is where the wrestlers wanted to be. Ring of Honor was one of the only companies, and you'd think all these guys would be angry about this, and some of them were a little disappointed that we wouldn't let anyone sell merch. You had to buy from the table, our T-shirts and our DVDs. And you know what? These guys knew they were at the right place. So even though they weren't crazy about it, they were like, okay, it's cool. And but yeah. Please, if I go backwards and try to think of what I should have done, we could be here all night. So, but what I did do right was keep the thing alive. And with that, once again, with the help of Cornette and Gary Juster, get this deal done. It was really hard to get this deal done. You would think like, what's so hard?
Yeah.
A big multi-billion-dollar company, and they did not pay a lot of money for this. Trust me, that it took a year. I mean, they were shoving flashlights everywhere, including where.
Oh yeah.
Everywhere. And we finally got it done. And it's like like Luke Williams taught me, mate. You can't say nothing to nobody. Telegraph, telephone, tell a wrestler. But we were able for 1 year, between Gary Juster, Cornette, myself, Sid, who was my business partner, and Joe Koff, be able to keep this thing a surprise. I was getting calls from my friends. Who are my friends? Like Bobby Cruz and Todd Sinclair and various wrestlers that I was close with. What's going on, Cary? I'm like, nothing. But we were able to keep it under wraps, and for the third or fourth time, here we are in March of 2022, and we're going into a new era.
Love it.
Yeah, and sorry, Kyle, go ahead.
No, I was gonna have you go ahead.
I was just gonna say, and now in a few weeks we have Super Card of Honor, Ring of Honor's big comeback from the hiatus. We don't know too much about it yet. But I know I'm definitely excited. I think fans are excited.
You guys coming to Texas?
I'm thinking about it. I'm excited.
I might be able to.
Like I told Jamie, if you come to Texas, you got tickets for Ring of Honor. That's the least I can do.
Well, I'm very grateful for that.
Thank you.
Like I said, I'm super excited.
Tony Khan it'll be fun.
The show.
But yeah, you should come. It's going to be it's exciting. I mean, they've only announced the Bandito Gresham unification match, the Briscoes against mystery opponents. I think we all know who that's going to be, so we're not going to even mention the names. Yeah, you got it. And I was sort of not that they are not talented. Strickland and what's the other guy? Alex Zane.
Yep.
Right. That was sort of caught me from off guard, but I think Tony said he's going to run it. I have not. Nobody's spoken to him, so I think with him behind it, we're going to see a very interesting show with some very good names. Not that the names I just mentioned aren't good, but we're going to see. He wants to sell the place out, so leave it at that.
Of course, and it's we talked about this last 2 weeks ago. It's a pretty good sized venue. I want to say it holds 7,000-8,000 something.
Now we have it cut down to like maybe 3,500, but
even
you know
still,
what? It's going to sell out. I know it.
That's still a good gate.
That's a safe bet because people are going nuts for Ring of Honor right now. Absolutely. I'm so glad to see it.
Yeah, the night he made the announcement, between that announcement and like the next day by noon, there was like an additional 300 tickets sold on top of whatever had been sold. So I think we're up to about, I don't know, maybe 1,000 tickets so far. So it wouldn't take that much for it to sell out. I mean, I just got to grab a soda. There's a lot of competition. I mean, you're talking about each day, each Thursday and Friday, and even Saturday, not to mention Wednesday, there's like, I know on Thursday and Friday, someone read me a list. There's like 16, imagine this, there's like 16 shows a day.
Oh,
so
yeah.
The night of the Ring of Honor show, and I shouldn't be saying this but the Ring of Honor show is going to be the one to be at. So I can say it. New Japan's running. Impact is running. The GCW guys are running. Not to mention all these other different indies and Joey Janela's this and Effie's brunch and all that. So it's and Mike from High Spots, he's a really good guy. He's got a super show. My main man Ian Riccaboni is going to be announcing that show, and he's been working with New Japan also. He's doing really well. I'm proud of him. He's a good boy.
He's doing fantastic. We saw him once he popped up on Impact Wrestling as well, a little bit as well. He's getting a lot of great work.
Yeah, it was nice going to Impact too. They had me there. It was just a happenstance. I was in Florida and I was coming back on Friday. I was there for like 10 days. It was awesome. And in Fort Lauderdale, and Ian Riccaboni calls me and says, "How long are you going to be in Florida?" I go, "I'm leaving Friday." He goes, "Oh man, I'm coming down Thursday night." I go, "For what?" He goes, "There's an Impact taping." So I was like, wow. He told me it's on like a Tuesday. So you know what? I changed my flights around, and Bobby Cruz was there also. It was great seeing Taven and Bennett and my old buddy Kenny King and Maria and Mike and Vincent. These are good talents, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So, and Impact was very well run, very, very well run. Behind the scenes, it's a good crew. I mean, Tommy Dreamer's there, D'Lo Brown's there, my good buddy Jimmy Jacobs, and Scott Demore, and I'm leaving some names out, but they do a really good job.
Yeah, they're another company that's really hitting their stride. I'm also a big Impact fan, so I'm really glad to hear that. Kyle, what else do you got?
Oh man, well, we talked a little bit about some of your favorite matches and things like that. We mentioned Joe versus Kabashi. What a tremendous outing that was. Everybody talks about Joe and Punk and that trilogy, different storylines.
Let's not forget Nigel and Brian in London with the Billy Goat. That brutal.
At Unified, that was an amazing match.
And as these guys were leaving, we thought we're dead that Samoa Joe's leaving. We thought we're dead that Punk's leaving. But there, I learned early, and I knew it, that there's going to be this great amount of attrition. People coming in and then people leaving. Because, why not? They want to make the most money possible.
Absolutely.
And I anytime a wrestler, like let's just say Roderick Strong would say to me, "Hey, Cary, I got a chance to go down to WWE for a tryout." I'd be like, "Dude, just go. See what happens." I would never be like, "You can't go." I wasn't. I should have been if I was a better businessman instead of trying to be a nice guy. But it worked out fine. It worked. It opened up room. With Austin Aries and Seth Rollins and Steen and Generico, who I just saw this past Sunday. They were doing a show about 15 minutes from my house. So I met those guys for lunch, and I've seen them like 5 or 6 times since they left, but every time I see them, I'm so proud of them. I'm so happy for them. They're doing so well, and they're financially doing well. And I said to Steen, I said, hey, that thing was Stone Cold. I said, if that happens, would you be into that? He goes, what are you kidding, Cary? I'd love, that would be like a dream come true for him. And yeah, they're good guys. I made a lot of, look, wrestling's just like life. You could count your real friends, hopefully on more than one hand, but you know what I'm saying. Yep. So, but over the years, I've met some really good guys that I'm truly friends with, and I communicate with. Jerry Lynn, the Bucks, they were like my West Coast. They're like my West Coast sons, and Tyler Black, Seth Rollins. I say this. I said to him, I hope I don't. He doesn't listen to these podcasts. I said, I hope I don't embarrass you when I tell these guys that you used to be my roommate often. Because he came up to me like in 2008 or not 8, and like he didn't drink, he didn't smoke, and at the time I was 100% clean. And he'd say, "Hey, Cary, can I stay with you? I don't like to be with these guys. They're up smoking and drinking all night." I'm like, "Yeah, no problem." Then I used to have the Bucks stay with me, and I'll tell you how good the Kyle and excuse me. Oh yeah, there's another good friend, Kyle O'Reilly and Adam Cole. Yeah. What good guys Steen and Rollins are. I had this pretty major neck surgery in 2014, and they flew to do a Monday Night Raw from LA, where they were. I think there was a pay-per-view, and the next night was in Philly. Maybe I got my geography wrong, but I know they were flying from the West Coast to the East Coast. And they landed, it was the summertime, and they landed at about 9 in the morning. And I was home, and they text me, "Hey, we want to come say hello to you." So instead of taking a cross-country red-eye flight and going to crash at the nice Marriott, they drove 90 minutes to me to spend some time. I remember we were sitting in the backyard. It was a beautiful day, and I got a little pool, and they didn't want to leave. They're like, "What can we do to get out of this?" But like that's the kind of guys they are. Instead of just tradition, they're just really good people. Same thing happened with. I only missed like one New York show ever, and it was because of this surgery. And so the Ring of Honor crew, Steve Corino, the Bucks, Adam Cole, Kyle, they drove. There was a New York City show, and they drove from the city. It's about an hour and 20 minutes to my house, just to see how I'm doing. And so there's some really good people out there.
Man, that's
I'm very lucky.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a heck of a story. I could sit here and do this all night. I know you've got to get going. Kylie, is there anything else that you wanted?
No, I hit on everything I wanted to hit on. So
sure. Last call.
No, I was very careful with my topics because I know Kyle is a history buff, and I knew he was going to want to talk about all that stuff. So I wanted to make sure he could have that.
Well,
that's why you're such a great co-host.
I hope I was a good guest, and I hope I like you guys, and I like Jamie, and you're good people. And if you need me again, whenever, let's see. Yeah. After we know more about April 1st, which I'm sure in the next coming days and weeks, we're going to know a lot more. Maybe we'll do this again in a couple of weeks, if you'll have me.
Oh, of course. I'd love to have you again.
I would be thrilled, and I would say open invitation, 100%.
I accept. Hey, listen, it's always nice to be wanted.
Definitely.
So, absolutely.
Thank you guys very much.
Yep. There's Jameis saying you can follow Cary on Twitter at ROHCary.
Yeah, and download the damn podcast, Last Stop Penn Station. There's 75 episodes. It's going to be a book one of these days. But if you like wrestling, if you like rock and roll, if you like the bizarre and stories of, just wild stories, they're all there.
I think I'm in the center of that Venn diagram. So
okay.
Absolutely.
Well, you should have been. Hey, AJ, that's all right. You should have been with us. There's my great producer just came in, AJ. You should have been with us. You should have been with me in New York City in the late '80s. You wouldn't have known whether to shit or go blind. It was crazy.
Mercy. There you go. Well, thank you so
much, guys and girls.
Thank you so much for joining us. It was such a good interview. I learned so much, and it was so great to see you and Kyle sort of bond over your history stuff. So that was really great. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Maybe I'll see you in Dallas.
Well, if you're going to come, just hit me up, and I'll see you in Dallas.
Okay.
Sounds great. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
All right.
Well, that was a heck of an interview. It was a lot of fun there to have Cary Silkin on. Thank you again to him for taking the time out to join us here. Let's get into some current events. Last week, Ian Riccaboni was on Facebook Live again, and he had a whole bunch of new announcements. We did reference one of them in the interview, and the big one coming out of that was one that Swerve Strickland is going to make his Ring of Honor debut at Supercard of Honor on April 1st in Dallas. And they announced later that same evening that his opponent would be the Sauce Alex Zane. Any thoughts about that? I feel like you're really excited.
Yeah, I'm super excited. I love both these guys. And I really hope that this sets the tone for Ring of Honor moving forward. Because we talk about them being a super indie and sort of, bringing in talent, moving talent, all that sort of stuff. But I really hope that we do get to see these high profile matches with these major names, these big stars from all over wrestling. I really hope we get to see these matches. I don't know what's going to come of Ring of Honor because we have the Tony Khan purchase and there's a lot of uncertainty. As we're recording this, we don't have any details. But maybe details will come up soon and this will all be pointless. But right now we have no details and I'm just so excited. This gives me so much hope that we're going to see a lot of quality matches in Ring of Honor and a lot of Ring of Honor moving forward.
Oh, absolutely. And there were the new talent announcements just kept coming for that show. Going in sort of chronological order for Ian's Facebook Live, we announced that Ninja Mac will be making his Ring of Honor debut at Supercard of Honor as well. He sort of made his name in GCW, debuted there around about a year ago, and has put on a series of fantastic matches with Mike Bailey, Blake Christian, Jack Cartwheel, Dante Leone, and he's just racking up tremendous outings. And it's going to be interesting to see him make his landing in Ring of Honor and to see who he might compete against.
Yeah, Ninja Mac is definitely a guy that I've always felt deserves more attention than what he gets. GCW is certainly sort of exploding right now, and Ninja Mac is one of the guys that's behind that. But I always feel like people doubt him, and they think he's just there for, spots and speed and all these things. But he's a very, very strong wrestler. And sure. We don't know who his opponent is yet, but I know that he could have a good match with anyone. And these are the types of guys that Ring of Honor needs. And like I said, I don't know what Ring of Honor is going to do moving forward. But if they can keep bringing in guys like Ninja Mac, they're in great hands.
Absolutely. And the next talent they announced, the next talent announced was technically Zane, but we got to that. The next one is Joe Hendry. Kylie, do you believe in Joe Hendry?
Of course.
They said they were taking suggestions for Joe Hendry's opponent. No announcements have been made as of yet. For what it's worth, I don't know if you saw this or not, Hendry himself called out Claudio Castagnoli in the chat during that Facebook Live.
Listen, Claudio is, people talk all the time, he's underrated. He was underutilized in WWE, which is very, very true. And I don't know what his plans are. I'm not him. But if he's going to do something in wrestling, why not Ring of Honor and show up and have great matches? Because then you can also do any other promotion.
Sure.
Because, you know, Forbidden Door universe, he could do anything. And I think he really fits here. And I think he brings a lot of value to Ring of Honor and to the indie scene.
I think we talked about this. I think I talked about this with Jameis at one point after Claudio got his release about how about Claudio in the G1? Let's make that happen. Speaking of the
Yeah, we
Forbidden
don't
Door.
need to call for that. Like,
Yeah.
let's get this ball rolling.
Yep. There was an announcement that Denise Salcedo would be in attendance as a special guest role. She joined the stream at that point as they confirmed the news. Denise is of course, a huge name in wrestling media and is just exploding right now. And fantastic for her. They didn't have a lot of specifics on what the guest role would entail, but just another big name that's in keeping to me with what ROH historically has been, which is finding the best of the best up and coming talent and giving it a spotlight to shine. Yeah,
Denise is one of the best. I think people think of podcasts when they think of Denise, but she's an excellent host. She's an excellent ring announcer. She can wear any hat and bring value to a promotion. So I don't know if this is a one-off or if, maybe they'll have her doing other stuff at other shows, but I am so proud of her. And I am so grateful that Denise represents women in wrestling media.
Oh yeah. And they're being a little evasive about this next one, but Riccaboni did say that, and I'm quoting, a very popular former ROH star is in contract negotiations to sign for a championship bout against whomever emerges at Supercard of Honor with the ROH World Championship. Let the speculation begin.
Yes. Well, the thing is, it could be anyone because like we were talking about, Ring of Honor has made wrestling in 2022. There's so many free agents and guys in other promotions who started in Ring of Honor or worked in Ring of Honor at some point. And so there's so many names that it could be, but it being a championship bout makes me think it's going to be a bigger name.
I would think so.
And there's one specific name I'm thinking of, but I'm going to wait and see if Kyle says it so I don't look dumb.
Okay. Well, there's a lot of different places I could go because I'm presuming that, oh, wow, I didn't know Jameis knew words that big.
Whoa.
And now see what he puts down there next in a little bit.
Probably Kyle is very old.
It's a go-to. What can I say? No, I believe that first off that Gresham is going to come out with the title.
Yeah, I agree.
And that leaves Bryan Danielson. Or the one that I would kind of like to see, just because he is so synonymous with Ring of Honor, is Samoa Joe.
That's the one I was thinking of. I think it's a no-brainer, right? He's a Ring of Honor staple. He, has a wrestling brain. I think there's few people in wrestling who think like Samoa Joe.
Oh, sure.
And that's a compliment. I think he's just so remarkably intelligent. And I think he brings a lot of value. And he could bring value anywhere, of course. But Ring of Honor, though, that's Samoa Joe.
Oh, I'd love to see Joe in that spot, especially against a performer like Gresham, who you can tell such a fantastic David and Goliath story with that. And, that's an easy story to tell in the ring, all things considered. But when it hits so, so well.
Yeah, and what a great feud for Gresham, kicking off the Tony Khan era of Ring of Honor. I've always said that Gresham he's just a star in waiting. Anybody is lucky to wrestle Jonathan Gresham. Anybody's lucky to book him. I think he's one of the best wrestlers in North America right now. and nobody's talking about it.
Yeah.
So I think Samoa Joe, the buzz from that, the buzz from Tony Khan, I think this would be really great for him.
100%. Let's see, what else did they have here as part of this? Rick Abani did state that ROH has an open door policy. So he said, if you've seen someone in ROH before, I believe there's a good chance you might see them again at some point. Which leaves
what a statement.
the door is not even on the hinges at this point. It's just
there's no door. We're just like open living. we're on like a pavilion or something.
Yeah. So there once again, the chat was going hot and heavy with names all night long. Somebody mentioned Brian Myers as a name. Rick Abani pointed out that Myers has specifically said in interviews that ROH is a place that he always wanted to work, but was never able to do so. It would not shock me if you see Brian Myers in there at some point. So it like you said, it's such a tremendously exciting time to be a fan and to be watching Ring of Honor. And we're excited for, people who are watching this podcast and maybe learning about ROH and its history for the first time. Maybe they can come along for the ride. There's room on the bandwagon. Yeah.
We got endless room for people. Everybody needs to watch Ring of Honor, and maybe you'll understand why wrestling is as good as it is today.
Absolutely. And beyond that, that was the bulk of the news. They did mention that ROH was going to be at the 2300 Arena in Philadelphia for a TV taping on April 10th after Supercard. And we'll get to some of that as well once we start talking about some new ownership.
Yeah, so as everyone, I would hope you know by now, but as everyone knows, Tony Khan purchased Ring of Honor, and we don't know a lot of the details about this yet. We don't know what Ring of Honor is going to look like. We don't know his role in Ring of Honor. I do imagine he'd be pretty hands-on. I don't know what that entails for Ring of Honor. I don't know how he sees Ring of Honor, none of that. But the fact that we're going forward with Supercard of Honor, there's going to be a sizable crowd. There's some big names confirmed. Probably some more big names will be added, just given, the time that Supercard of Honor is happening and everything else that's happening around at the same time. And the fact that we have a confirmed TV taping makes me think that Ring of Honor is going to be, a consistent program. I don't know where it's going to happen. I don't know if it's going to be on TV, if it's going to be on YouTube. I don't know. But I think it's safe to say that Ring of Honor has survived the hiatus.
Absolutely, and might even come back stronger.
I
believe Tony said that he would be booking as part of the media scrum after Revolution. Mm-hmm. He would be handling the booking for Ring of Honor. The TV taping is an interesting thing to me because when you think super indie, you don't think episodic TV in any real sense. So I'm very intrigued to see how that's going to look.
That's a good point. And I think there's a way, if anyone's going to do it, it's Tony Khan, of course. But I think there is a way to do it where you could have weekly TV, or I don't even know, or they could do monthly shows. I don't know what's happening with these people. But I think it's a really interesting concept to bring in guys, sign them or pay them by appearance for 2 months, just throwing a number out there. And they could have a program and move on. Like you could bring in guys from AEW, you could bring guys from GCW, Impact, and just have them for a short period of time. And that way we always have a fresh roster and we can always have fresh stories. And of course you can bring guys back at a certain point.
Sure.
Or you could carry stories into other promotions. And I think this is how wrestling should be done. I think it's great for the fans, and I think it gives talent the experience of working with a bunch of different people from a bunch of different backgrounds and sort of wrestling styles and experience and everything. And I think wrestling is better for it. While exclusive deals, of course, they have their purpose, especially with big companies like AEW and WWE.
Sure.
But I do think there's something to be said for working with anybody and everybody that you can. And if Ring of Honor is going to be that place, I don't know, guys. I think that spells great things for Ring of Honor.
Absolutely, and it's also possible that the initial concept of the Super Indie may have been where the company was headed, and then when the sale happened, maybe we took a left turn, and maybe the Super Indie concept is out the window now, and ROH is going to be the OVW or NXT to AEW at this point. And and if that's the case, there are things that you can play with there. I mean, the Khan family has connections to football in Europe and in the UK. You could, I'm spitballing now. You could fantasy book the daylights out of this. You could do a relegation gimmick with guys. You lose X amount of times in a row, you go to this other place, which that might work. It might not. It's something that occurred to me, and maybe that doesn't work because then you get the impression that the other promotion is full of losers and you don't want that. So I don't, the idea is more just that there's creative things that you can do here, and we trust these minds to be able to find them.
Yeah. And I really do think Ring of Honor as the, as you said, the NXT of AEW is an interesting idea. And I think it's something AEW needs. They have Dark Elevation, but the purpose of those shows are to get wins for people, to set up, main roster storylines and things by moving people through the rankings, having them go down the rankings, all that sort of stuff.
Sure.
For a long time, Dark hasn't been a training ground as it used to be back when AEW first started. And, that experience that talent get on Dark and Dark Elevation is great. They're in front of a crowd, all that. But I do think development is something AEW needs, especially if they're going to sign very, very young guys like Nick Wayne, and I'm sure that other guys that they have in the works. I think if you're going to do that, you need a place for them to cut their teeth creatively. Like, there's only so much in-ring drills you can run to be a wrestler.
Right.
You need to understand the other stuff. And if Ring of Honor's that place, I'm game, because I would love to see AEW's roster doing anything.
Sure, and with a rotating cavalcade of former ROH stars coming in and out as they see fit. Some of the brightest stars of however many years ago, depending on who it is, against the generational thing is fantastic. And I want to make sure, is there anything else you wanted to talk about with the Tony Khan deal before we moved on? Because I was going to talk about a particular ROH reference at Revolution, since we were talking about AEW.
No, go for it. I'm ready. Let's talk about it.
Oh, so we talked during our last episode about the CM Punk dog collar match with MJF and the myriad callbacks to his dog collar match with Raven, even some with his dog collar match with Jimmy Rave. And CM Punk one-upped all of it, coming out to his old music by AFI, coming out with the white basketball shorts, with the track jacket. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it was great. I was there. And Cult of Personality hit.
I remember.
Not jealous at all, of course. Cult of Personality hit. Then CM Punk, came out to it. And I gotta admit, I was a little disappointed because I thought, oh, okay, CM Punk, we're just not gonna do anything Ring of Honor, I guess. But it was MJF, and then CM Punk comes out and it's Ring of Honor. And he gets in the ring, and it's CM Punk from Ring of Honor. He's got the attitude. He's got, we did go to Revolution without Kyle, but it's okay. It's okay.
I live
Kyle's not jealous,
I live
right?
much, much farther away.
Yeah. So everyone in the arena popped for it. I'm not sure how many people actually knew what it was, or if they're just excited to see Punk doing something different. I don't know. But it was incredible. It was so fun to see. I thought the match was excellent. And you told us something before we started filming about Paul Turner.
Yes, and this was something that I had forgotten until I saw somebody make mention of it on Twitter, and then I went to fact check it because I always fact check Twitter. Um, Paul Turner, who refereed the dog collar match with MJF, was also the referee for Punk's dog collar match with Raven at Death Before Dishonor back in 2003 in Elizabeth, New Jersey. Same man. He was there
it's the
too.
little things. It's the little things, you know?
And just
ahead.
phenomenal, top to bottom. And I was sitting watching it because I was running the bodyslam.net Twitter feed. So I had to forego watching it with a couple of buddies, which, okay, no big deal there. And I got text from both of them. My phone lit up immediately of text that said, "How happy are you right now?" And I said, "My heart is on fire."
Oh, I'll admit, when the music hit, well, the lights went down and the music hit, my first thought was, Kyle, when we get on the podcast, Kyle, this is all he's going to want to talk about. I know he's going to love this.
Yep.
And in the match, I feel like it felt like Ring of Honor, even MJF. He sort of assumed that sort of Ring of Honor aura about him, especially from back in the day, where everything was sort of grungy and violent and just incredible. And it was such a great match. It was such a great tribute to Ring of Honor. And I hope now that Tony Khan has the tape library, I hope we see more ROH CM Punk sort of snippets in video packages and sort of promo pictures, all sort of stuff. I really hope we get more.
That would be fantastic. And like any good Easter egg, it doesn't, if you had no idea, and judging by the discourse, a lot of people on social media did not, but if you had no idea, that did not affect your enjoyment of the actual match at all. Yeah. But if you knew, oh man, it made it so much better.
I did go back and I watched it because people online were saying they didn't know what it was. And Excalibur did say it was his Ring of Honor entrance. And if that has no personal meaning for you, fair enough. But for those of us who love Ring of Honor, that was such a great tribute. I'm so glad Tony Khan let it happen. I don't think there's a reason why he wouldn't. But I was so grateful for it. And the entire match was just, it was my favorite match of the night, probably because of the Ring of Honor entrance.
Yep. Well, and you saw Ring of Honor's fingerprints at a couple of other spots as well. You saw a couple of clips and stills from the Adam Page and Adam Cole feud. Yes. Because they had met twice previously in Ring of Honor, splitting matches at one apiece. So you saw some of that as well. And I wonder if that's not going to be a significant chunk of how Tony Khan uses the library for at least a little while.
Yeah.
To establish some of those things and those just filler for those feuds.
Yeah, I definitely think so, because there's been a few instances in AEW's past where they've talked about these wrestlers who have these relationships, like when Kenny and Hangman were the tag champs and they had the match with the Young Bucks. They talked about them wrestling each other and working together in Ring of Honor New Japan. But they didn't have tape or pictures because they didn't own the library. So that would have been something incredible for that feud.
Yeah, Hangman and the Bucks are former ROH six-man champions.
Yeah, there's a lot of history there. And I think, I definitely think we're headed towards an elite reunion coming soon. So I would love to see baby Hangman with his way before he was Hangman, when he was Adam Page with the baseball cap.
Oh man, yep, and the John Deere green trunks.
Yes, baby Hangman, we need it, because his entire thing is that he's sort of still finding himself. Baby Hangman should be a t-shirt. We need it. He's still finding himself, and he's still trying to figure out who he is as champion. And he's uncertain, and he's having issues with his friends, the Dark Order, and all these things. I think a story where Hangman goes back to his roots and reconnects with the people that he sort of lost along the way, like the Young Bucks. I think there's an interesting story there. And I think with the Ring of Honor tape library, AEW can do incredible stories like that.
Sure. And yeah, there's lots that you can tell there. Even going back to his heel turn, his first heel turn when he joined the Decade with Jimmy Jacobs and Roderick Strong and BJ Whitmer, and that type of thing, where you saw the early version of Adam Page, and it's something that you kind of saw repeated when he joined Bullet Club. It was, he, and I think that played a little bit into the character beats when he talked about, the groups haven't worked out so well for me. He went to the Decade, he went to Bullet Club, he went to the Elite. He's been following so many different people his whole career that, you do that long enough, you lose sight of who you are. And I think we're seeing that story unfold, and it's wonderful to be told. But we are deviating a little bit away from Ring of Honor. We're kind of there still, but
sorry, go ahead.
No, after you.
I was just gonna say that I was gonna bring back to CM Punk, and I was just gonna say, now that I don't know if this was on the pay-per-view, I don't know, but he did sort of gesture that he was going to go for the belt. So yes. Back to the Ring of Honor tape library, CM Punk is an incredible champion. And, yes. Summer of Punk was one of the best stories of its time. I really do think, I'm not entirely sure if we could do a heel CM Punk a la Summer of Punk in AEW. I don't know if it would work, but I do think there's a lot that can be done with that story. And now that AEW owns the tape library, I think if we did, maybe not a redo of Summer of Punk, but if we did maybe like the Spring of Punk leading into Double or Nothing, I think we could do that with the tape library.
Yeah, I do worry a little bit that the proper Summer of Punk might be a little dry after it's been done in ROH and WWE. But with a mind like his and being rejuvenated like it's been in AEW, I have no doubt that if there was a desire to turn Punk, he could come up with something fantastic. I've already seen a lot of people talk about the idea of Hangman and his well-known past alcohol problems as a character being an impetus for that turn. I'm not sure how comfortable I feel there. I don't know the way the crowd loves both of them. I don't know if that would go the way they want it to go. Mm-hmm. I don't know if it would be the layup heel turn that they think it might be. And they've had Hangman come so far that to have him relapse to the point where it causes Punk to turn as a domino effect, like, I don't know if people would be willing to go with Hangman on that journey.
That's a fair point. And I think there's a lot of places they can go with that. But now I'm just thinking about all the possibilities of the Ring of Honor tape library. And AEW hasn't confirmed a streaming service, but There's been rumors about it, and Tony Khan has kind of beat around the bush. But if AEW does get a streaming service or moves to a platform like HBO Max, I think there's a place for the Ring of Honor library there.
I would agree. And ROH, I know, they're still advertising Honor Club in some capacity. Like, they put something out recently directing people to Honor Club, and I went and checked it out, and the website doesn't appear to be that different. So there may be plans coming for that.
If we can get a revamped Honor Club, I'm here for it, because if you know, you know.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I do. It was rough. It was rough. But there was a lot of great stuff there if you knew how to get to it and had the patience to actually get there. But now that so those are the big things that are happening right now. I love the idea of I'm not sure if that's a compliment or an insult. I really can't even tell.
Go either way.
Hey, I'm going to take it as a compliment. Thanks, bud. No, there's I'm very excited, as you are, to see what happens with the tape library. I think there's a recognition I think Tony Khan recognizes the value in it,
Mm-hmm.
and that Honor Club could be a huge thing, whether as a standalone service or as part of a streaming deal. And I think the resources are in place to get everything digitized and done and taken care of. And I'm here for it. Like, oh my gosh. I was thinking when we were talking with Cary a little bit ago that he was spot on with the early ROH shows being so gritty, and like you can still find them on YouTube and a little rough, but the rest of them are there, and something great about that. And you're seeing that recaptured with a lot of super indies now that don't have the budget but are just putting out banger matches in not great circumstances. But well, this was fun. We should probably wrap it up. We're getting close to an hour 20 here. We should probably tie this off.
Do you want to do your plugs?
Yeah, I should probably do that. It might be a nice thing to do. You can find me on Twitter at Kyle K. Sparks. It's right there on my screen. It's super nice to have that there. I write for Body Slam. I am here every week with Kylie, nerding out over Ring of Honor, having a good old time. And those are the big things that I'm working on right now. Maybe there'll be some more coming later. We've talked about some other possibilities, but those are still in the embryonic stage. We'll see what happens there. You can also follow Body Slam Net on all social platforms, and you can follow the official Twitter feed for this show at Code of Honor Cast. At Code of Honor Cast. We'll be plugging that on our Twitters as well, and follow us. Hear the latest. Hear the announcements.
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at Fuller_Kylie. You can see me, of course, on the Ring of Honor podcast with Kyle. Like he said, follow us on Twitter. We'll keep you up to date with all our stuff. And you can leave comments and your opinions, and it'll add to the discussion. You can also see me on Fightful Overbooked on Demo Divas, where we talk all things women's wrestling. And I'm sure we'll be talking about Ring of Honor there too once it's going. Follow bodyslam.net on all socials, on YouTube, on Twitter. If there's a platform, we're probably on it. Make sure to like and subscribe to the video. Yeah, follow Code of Honor Cast on Twitter. And we'll see you next week. Hopefully we have more news about Super Card of Honor.
Yeah, it should be fun. Otherwise, we're just going to be talking about nothing for an hour, and it'll still be fun. But
well, if we don't have any news and you have ideas for what we can talk about, follow us on Twitter and leave a comment and give us some ideas.
Absolutely. Love to hear them.
Either way, we'll see you next week.